Let's carry on with the lecture. Okay, so we have what we have done so far is on topic number 5. Okay, so we are supposed to finish or to cover topic number 5 by today. Okay, as you all know, okay, we have 14 topics in total, so divided according to over 14 weeks of lecture. So on average, okay, 1 week for one topic. Okay, so we need to stay on the course, okay, so that we have time to so we can finish on time. So last class or last Monday, okay, we started on topic number 5, which is on the theory of consumer behavior, and we discussed on the concept of utility, which is a measure of satisfaction. Okay, how much a consumer choose to buy. Okay, the optimum combination or the best combination, okay, can be measured by utility. Okay, and then we also look at the certain definition, cardinal and ordinal. Okay, cardinal is you can assign values. Ordinal, you cannot assign exact values, but you can rank them. Okay, okay, best, medium, low, so those kind of ranking. Okay, and then we also look at the formula uh, whereby the consumer can maximize utility when the ratio of two marginal utility is equal to the ratio of two prices. Or if you can take if you cross multiply, okay, it is also equal to when MUX over PX is equal to MUY over PY, okay, or the ratio of marginal utility over the price of good X is equal to the ratio of marginal utility of Y over price of Y. So either way is still looking at the formula to maximize the utility. Okay, MUX over MUY equals to PX over PY, or MUX per PX equals to MUY per PY. If you cross multiply, you get the same. So how do you calculate MU? Okay, it's basically just the change in total utility over the change in quantity. Okay, and we also look at the concept of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, as you consume more and more of the same product, okay, your MU will start to decrease. Okay, but your TU will continue to increase. Okay, until it reaches the maximum point, and after that it will start to decline. Okay, and the point where your TU is maximum is when your MU equals to 0. Okay, so this is you can visualize from the simple diagram or table here. Okay, your TU keeps on increasing. Once it reaches maximum at 8, your MU will be equal to 0, and after it, or after you consume, once you start consuming unit number 5, your TU start to decrease and your MU starts becoming negative. Okay, that's what you see here. So once your TU start to decline, your MU starts going below the negative point. Okay, so this is a simple concept of TU and MU. Okay, and we will also talk about why you need to find the optimum combination, because we have limited income. Okay, and how much you can buy depends on how much income or money you have, and also depend on the price of the commodities, okay, of the goods that you want to buy. Okay, so based on this limitation, income and the price of goods, so consumer need to make the best decision. Okay, how much X and Y they need to buy lah. Okay, so and then we also look at this table here, okay, which look at the combination between the rate, basically looking at the equilibrium or the optimum combination between X and Y. Okay, so how many X and Y that the consumer should consume is when, as what we discussed before, the ratio between MUX over PX, this must be equal to the ratio of Y over PY. So once these two values are equal, we can say that the consumer is at equilibrium or maximizing his or her utility. Okay, so from this simple example here, we can see that when the ratio is when the two ratios are equal at MUX over PX equals to 3, okay, and also when the ratio is equal at 2. So these are the two combination where you get the same value of MUX over PX and MUY over PY. So for 3 and 3, when MUX over PX equals to 3 and also MUY equals over PY equals to 3 is when the consumer consume 3 of X and 4 of Y. Okay, and also another combination is when the ratio equals to 2 when both are commodities are consumed at at 5 units each. Okay, so and we can look from this combination here. Okay, the first combination A, when you consume 3x for y, you get total utility 2 to 3. And the second one, when you when you consume 5x and 5y, the total utility is higher, 252. Okay, but at the end of the day, you need how much you can buy depend on what is your income. Okay, so this is we also look at this. Okay, if you go for combination A, you only need to pay 46 ringgit. If you go for combination B, you need to pay 60 ringgit. Okay, so depending on how much income you have, if you got only 46 ringgit, you can only choose A lah, because you cannot buy, you cannot pay more than that. Okay, but if you have 60 ringgit, you can go either A or B. Okay, but of course, as a rational consumer, between A and B, of course, you want to go B because B gives you higher utility, 252. Okay, so any logical or rational consumer, okay, the choice that you want to make will end up giving you the highest value of utility lah. So, okay, so in this case, if you have 60 ringgit between A and B, you're gonna go for B lah. Okay, so that is what we discuss. Okay, and then we also look at, so today we want to continue on the concept of a bit on ordinal utility. Okay, the one that we you can only measure qualitative, meaning you can only rank. Okay, give you ranking, best, medium, average, poor. So, but you cannot assign values. Okay, so that is one thing about when we start this topic. Okay, we have cardinal and ordinal. Okay, cardinal you can assign values, ordinal you can only assign ranking. Okay, and also we look at we're going to look at the concept of indifference curve. Okay, or in Malay we call it keluk puasama. Okay, or indifference curve. So basically it's a curve that shows various combination. Okay, combination means if you look at two-dimensional graph, x and y. Okay, so combination means how many x and how many y that a consumer wants can buy. So for example, if you have 100 ringgit, okay, so 100 ringgit you can buy, let's say you can buy two goods, okay, good x and good y. Okay, so how many x and y that you can buy? Okay, for example, you might want to buy more x and less y in one day, or you can buy more x, less x and more y in another day. So there is different combination of x and y that you can buy given the same amount of money that you have. So that is, so when you plot this different combination, okay, you can get you can plot those different combination, and the outcome is what we call indifference curve. Okay, so so the shape of a normal indifference curve, okay, is downward sloping. Okay, it's not a straight line, so it is what we call a convex. Okay, so it is it shapes like a demand curve, but it's not a straight line. Okay, so for example, what you see here. Okay, so what you see here on this slide, okay, the y-axis we just assign for good y, the x-axis we assign for good x lah. Okay, so let's say we look at the indifference curve, the one in the middle here. Okay, ignore the IC1 and IC2 here. So you look at the middle one here. So along the same curve, you have different combination of X and Y, good X and good Y. For example, at point A, you consume more of Y and less of B, less of X. Okay, and for example, at point D, you consume more of X but less of Y. Okay, but as long as you are on the same line here, okay, you are on the same line, meaning along the same curve, you have different combination of Y and X that you can consume. Okay, so the meaning behind the points along the same curve here, okay, point A, point B, point C, point D. So every point gives you different combination. I mean, for example, A, you consume more Y, less X. D, for example, you consume more X and less Y. Okay, but as long as you are on the same curve, the consumer is still gaining the same amount of utility. Okay, so this is an important point that you need to understand. Okay, along the same curve, the amount of utility is the same. Okay, regardless whether you consume more X, less Y, or you consume more Y and less X. Okay, the total amount of utility TU, okay, total utility that the consumer gets, okay, as long as you are at the same, along the same curve, okay, different combination, but total utility remains the same. So that is the meaning of different combination of good X and good Y, okay, as long as it remain on the same utility, the same indifference curve. So that shows the amount of utility that the consumer gets, okay, although at different combination, but the TU, total utility, remains the same. Okay, how about this utility, this indifference curve here on the top here and the one below, below here. So the simple explanation, if you move upward, okay, move to the right, okay, indifference curve on above the original one, okay, of course will give you higher, bigger total utility. Okay, so and the one, if the indifference curve is located below the one in the middle here, okay, below the original one, if you move to the left, your total utility will decrease. Okay, but if you move to the right, your total utility will increase. So how can you change from the original indifference curve to a new indifference curve on the right? Okay, or how can you move from the original one to the one on the left? Okay, meaning if you can increase your total utility, you can also decrease your total utility. So when does this happen? So you can increase, you can move to a new indifference curve, okay, due to two reasons, okay, and the same thing here. You can also move, your indifference curve can drop, okay, or can go to the left, also due to two reasons, two factors. The first one is your income. The second one is the changes in the price of X and Y. Okay, so you can move if you go upward or the indifference curve go to the right, is because your income increase. Okay, your income, let's say if I denote my income as M. Okay, M is my income. So my income can increase. Okay, my AM denotes income. Okay, we can, if you go upward, meaning from the original indifference curve, you move upward. Okay, one reason you can shift upward is the income of the consumer increase. Okay, or is also due to the price of good Y and good X drops. Okay, price of X, PX, and also PY, the price of good Y, both of them decrease, okay, or drop. Okay, so if this happen, either your income increase or the prices of good X and good Y drop, so you can move to a higher indifference curve. Okay, so from here you can also you can also know that, okay, you can move to a lower indifference curve, okay, your indifference curve can go to the left or move lower, for example, from this original one, okay, to the lower one, if your income drops, okay, or the price of good X and good Y increase. Okay, so you take the opposite direction. Okay, I repeat, your indifference curve can go upward, okay, or move to the right, which indicate the total utility will increase. Okay, total utility will increase. Okay, or the indifference curve move to the right, okay, or upward when your income increase or the price of good X or good Y drops. Okay, or your indifference curve can shift to the left or go or drop, okay, which means that the total utility also decrease, okay, at the lower indifference curve, okay, if your income drops, okay, or the price of X and Y increase, okay, so it's the opposite direction. It goes upward if income increase and price of good X and good Y drops. Okay, or it can go backward or drop, your TU, your total utility decrease when the income drop or the price of X and Y increase. Okay, so that is two factors that can cause a person indifference curve, okay, goes upward or goes backward or increase or decrease from its original position. Okay, so this is you can read here, okay, but the main thing that that I want to highlight is first, any point along the indifference curve, okay, will give the person or the individual same amount of utility. Okay, and then you can only move to a higher indifference curve if your income increase or the price of good X and good Y drops, okay, or decrease. Okay, and your indifference curve can also go backward or drop if your income decrease, okay, or drop, and but the price of good X and good Y increase. Okay, so these are just some of the properties or the criteria of indifference curve. Downward sloping, okay, as what we see here is downward sloping, just like a demand curve. Okay, convex to origins means, okay, the shapes is melengkung macam ni. Okay, it is convex means the minimum point is pointing towards the 0 point here lah. So it's not dia jengkung, okay, or in English we call it convex to origin lah. Okay, so the minimum point here is always pointing downwards, okay, to the zero axis. Okay, indifference curve do not intersect, okay, do not cross means when you plot your indifference curve, okay, one of the condition of the indifference curve, you cannot have two indifference curve intersect or cross each other, because that will violates the assumption of a normal consumer. Okay, but we will not discuss too much into detail. Okay, so but bear in mind, indifference curve do not intersect, okay, because it will violates one of the assumption, okay, of this, especially on this point here. Consumer preference are transitive. Transitive means you always prefer more than less. Okay, as any what it means by transitive is, okay, any rational consumer, okay, any logical consumer, you always prefer more than less. So if you have two indifference curve intersect or cross each other, okay, for example from this line here, okay, if the indifference curve intersect, okay, for example like this, okay, the two indifference curve intersect, so one of the observation that you will see is that this assumption is not true anymore, or you violate this assumption of consumer preference transitive. Okay, transitive means in layman term, okay, more is always less, more is preferred than less. Okay, meaning any logical consumer or any rational consumer, you always prefer more of a good than less lah. So more is better. So when you cross, when two indifference curve intersect, so this assumption is violated. Okay, so we will not go too much into detail, because for if you are taking macroeconomics, especially for economic student, okay, you will look at this concept again, okay, on the assumptions of indifference curve, why it cannot intersect, okay, especially on this point here. Okay, so I think, but for principle of economics, okay, as long as you know this concept, two indifference curve cannot intersect, okay, because it violates the assumption of consumer preference should be transitive, okay, or in other words, more is preferred than less, okay. Okay, and the last point here, different ICS indifference curve show different level of satisfaction. So what this means is this one here lah. Different ICS meaning different indifference curve. So if you move higher, that shows your total satisfaction or your total utility is higher lah. Okay. So this indifference curve gives you higher TU compared to the one in the middle. Okay, and the lowest indifference curve here indicates the total utility is lower than the one in the middle and also the one on the top here. So as long as you move towards the right, okay, the highest indifference curve gives you highest total utility. So that's what this last point means lah. Okay, different ICS shows different level of satisfaction. Different indifference curve gives you different total utility. Okay, far from the origin, the higher the satisfaction. So the higher the indifference curve is, the higher is your satisfaction. Okay, so this is what it means by two indifference curve cannot intersect. Okay, because if you look at these two indifference curve, point A and point B. Okay, so why it is you cannot intersect? Because okay, if you compare, if you look at point A and point B, point A is located at this indifference curve, correct? Okay, whereas point B is located, point A is located at this indifference curve, whereas I think point B is supposed to be a bit on this lower. Okay, let me see. Okay, never mind. I'll skip this one first. Okay, and we will look at the. Maybe I'll find one question from past years. Okay, that gives you a similar diagram like this, and then we can discuss the solution. Okay, but as long as you understand the assumption that two indifference curve cannot intersect, because if you are at this, when you arrive at this situation, you cannot choose between A and B. Okay, because because it violates the assumption of more is preferred than less. Okay, but why is it so? Okay, it is not clear from this slide. Okay, so maybe I will use another slide from Arnold textbook. Okay, but we move to another slide first. Okay, because I don't want to spend too much time on this concept here. Okay, so and then the next slide, the next should be on the budget line. Okay, if you recall just now, okay, from when we cover on this topic on apa tu, monetary, okay, so when we reach at this slide before, okay, consumers face constraint, income and prices, correct? So how much a person can buy depends on how much income the person has, and also affected by the prices of the goods. Okay, you cannot simply buy more of one product. It depends on how much is the price. Okay, if the price of good X and good Y is high, okay, meaning that you can only buy a little, you can only buy a few of the products. But if the price is low, meaning you can buy more lah. Okay, but it also depends on how much income that you have. So in the real world, okay, these two factors, income and prices of the goods, will affect how many of X and Y that a person can buy. So, and that brings us to this concept here again on the budget line. Okay, budget line is simply means your budget constraint, or how much it will show how much you can buy given your income level and also the price of the good X and good Y. Okay, so Okay, and the formula or to draw a simple budget line is simply equate using this simple equation here. Okay, M, which is the income level. Okay, that's why I used the notation M previously, because in economy or in at least for this topic, usually we denote income as the symbol M. Okay, you can use other symbol, but some textbook they use the symbol M for the income level. Okay, so income equals to the price of X multiplied by quantity of X plus the price of Y multiplied by the quantity of Y. So it's just a simple equation. So how much you can buy? Okay, this is a logical formula. Okay, how much a person can buy, your income, okay, is subject to the price of X multiplied by quantity of X plus the price of Y multiplied by quantity of Y. So how many good X and good Y that you can buy, multiply by the price of each, the total of this will equal to your income. Right? Okay, so that is a logical way to see. Okay, for example, if you want to buy uh, 10 unit of X and 10 unit of Y, okay, 10 and 10, and the price of good X, let's say, is $1. The price of Y, let's say, is $2. So 10 times 1 is 10 ringgit. 10 times 2 is 20 ringgit. So 10 plus 20, you get 30 ringgit. So 30 ringgit should be equal to your income. Lah. Okay, and one of the assumption or the simple assumption is that when you want to use this equation, we assume that you spend every money that you have. Okay, it's not like you put aside for saving. Okay, so if you got 30 ringgit, you must spend all of the 30 ringgit. If you have 50 ringgit, you must spend all of the 50 ringgit to buy good X and good Y. Okay, so every money is spent on the two goods, X and Y. So the total price, the total cost of X and Y must equal to your income. So that is what it means by PXX plus PYY. Okay, so the total amount of money spent on X and Y, the total amount of money spent on these two goods is equal to your income or M. Okay, and the slope, okay, or the kecerunan, the gradient of the budget line, okay, is equals to the ratio of the price of X divided by the price of Y. Okay, PX over PY will give you the slope or the gradient of the budget line. Okay, budget line means is a okay, when you plot on the two axes, X and Y, okay, you get a straight line, okay, a downward sloping straight line, whereby the value of the slope is equal to the ratio of the price of X over Y. Okay, so usually your budget line will have a negative slope because it's a downward sloping line, just like a demand curve, downward sloping. So because it's downward sloping, the value of the slope will always be negative. So this is mathematics. Okay, when you draw a downward sloping line, okay, like this. Okay, this is your y-axis and your x-axis. The downward sloping lines is like this. Okay, so in mathematics, if your line is downward sloping, your slope, okay, your gradient will always be negative value. Okay, so if you recall when you learn mathematics, y equals to mx plus c, right? So this is a simple straight line equation. Y is a function of mx plus c, c is your constant, m is your slope, okay? So the value of the slope for a downward sloping line like this will always be negative. But if your line is upward sloping, then your m will be positive lah. Okay, so this is just a simple mathematics. So there's nothing to do with economics, okay, per se. Okay, so but when you draw a budget line, okay, the slope is calculated as the ratio of good X, price of X divided by the price of Y. Okay, and so when you, and because I mentioned just now, you spend every money that you have. Okay, so when you draw a simple budget line, okay, you will draw them. Okay, that the budget line will always have it will cut on the y-axis and also it will cut on the x-axis here. Okay, so this is x, this is y. So how to find the point of intersection here. So what is the value here? So what is the value here? The value when your budget line cuts your y-axis, and also when your budget line cuts your x-axis. So if you can find these two intersection point, then you can draw your budget line straight away, because you only need these 2 points where the line cuts your y and your x-axis. So having these 2 points, you can just connect between the two dots, okay, and obtain your budget line easily. So this point here is equals to, okay, so this, okay, so for example, this point here, when the line cuts your x-axis, okay, so basically this point is equals to your income, okay, your M divided by the price of X, okay. So M is your income just now. So income divided by the price of X will give you the intersection point on the X-axis, and vice versa. To find the intersection point of Y is simply take your income level divided by the price of Y. That will give you M over PY will give you the value of this intersection point. Okay, so when you have these two values here, M over PY gives you this point, and M over PX gives you this point here. Once you obtain these 2 points, you can just connect between the two lines and obtain your budget line. But of course, in the principle of economics, you are not required to draw this, okay, but because you are going to be tested based on multiple choice questions, okay. So so M over PX, M over PY here, what I mean, this is what it means here. So as long as you know how to calculate the two values, okay, so if you are being asked what is the value on the y-axis, or what is the value on the x-axis here when the budget line intersect, this can be obtained by M over PY or M over PX, okay, for the intersection point. So that is a simple way to calculate, okay. And once you know how to draw your budget line, given your income and also the price of X and Y, we can also look at how does budget line can also changes, okay, or shift to the left or to the right, okay. So this is just a simple mathematics, because when you know how to calculate the intersection point, okay, just now we mentioned that the intersection point is calculated based on M over PX, correct? For to find, for example, this point here is based on M over PX. So if your budget line, for example, shift to the right, okay, so let's say this is the one in the middle here, this is the original budget line. So if you want to move the budget line to the right, or when does your budget line shift to the right, or when does your budget line shift to the left, okay, assuming the one in the middle is the original budget line. So it can shift to the right if what? If your income increase lah, okay, because when M increase, M over PX will give you a higher intersection point. So if your income increases, okay, income increase, M over PX, the budget line can shift to the right, or it can also change if the price of X drops. This is just a simple mathematics, okay, because the formula is M over PX. So if M increase, PX remain the same, okay, and assuming Y does not change also, okay, so the price of Y remains the same, okay. This, okay, I made a mistake here, okay, so let's start again. Okay, budget line can change, okay, if this is the kind of changes that you see, okay. Okay, so let's start again. This is the original budget line, okay, and the budget line here in this case, the shift only happens on the Y, on the x-axis. The y-axis does not change at all; it remains on the original point. So if this is the case, okay, the Y point does not change, but only changes on the x-axis. So if this is the case, it is due to the price of X that changes, okay. the price of X that change, meaning that the income does not change. Because if income change, Y will also change. Because the formula is M over PY to get this point here, and the one on the for X is M over PX, correct? So if income changes, M changes, so of course this value will also change, okay? But in this case, the value on the y-axis does not change. It only changes on the y-axis intersection point. Okay, so the shift in the graph only occurs on the X goods, okay, on the commodity X. So how does this happen? Only one reason, the price of X changes. So for example, if you are talking about the curve shift upward, okay, from this point to this point, the only reason why it can happen is when the price of X drops, okay? Because mathematically, if M divided by a smaller value, the ratio will, this value will become higher lah. So M over Px, if the price of X drop, okay, then M over Px will have a bigger value. So then the curve will shift to the right, okay? But the shift will be to the left, okay, if the price of X increase. Okay, so this is just a simple mathematics. M remain the same, Px now has increased. So M divided by a bigger value, okay, then the product of M over Px will have a smaller value. So that will cause the Px to shift to the left, okay? So if you see a graph like this, whereby the changes only occurs at one axis. In this case, we look at the x-axis. The y remain the same. So this can only happen if the price of X that change. Income remains the same. Okay, because if income changes, then it will affect both Y and X. Okay, but if only one price of the good changes, in this case, the price of Y remain also the same, but the price of X changes. So the shift to the right happens when the PX goes down. Okay, and the shift to the left happens when the Px go up. Okay, this is a simple mathematics. I don't need to teach you how you get this. Okay, but as long as you know that this is calculated by M over Px, income divided by the price of X. So if Px becomes higher, then this ratio becomes smaller. So you move to the left. If Px becomes smaller, so M divided by a something smaller, you get a bigger ratio value. So that will indicate. So the value will become higher. So this is what this graph means lah. Okay, the shift in the budget line, okay, at one particular axis. In this case, only happens at the x-axis, which indicate the price of good X that changes. Okay, so this is what it means, and also vice versa here. Okay, the price of here, the price of good Y that changes. Okay, but the price of X remains the same. So in this case, PY that the price of Y that change. Okay, so the same thing here. If it moves upward, okay, if looking at this point here, okay, meaning that the intersection points, the one in the middle is the original line. Okay, but if it move upward, that indicates the PX has gone down. Sorry, the PY has go down. Okay, but if the graph move downwards, okay, that indicates PY goes up. Okay, because again, the intersection point is calculated as M over PY, correct? So if PY goes down, okay, PY becomes smaller, M divided by a smaller value, then the product of M over PY will become bigger. So you move upward, okay? And vice versa, if the price of Y increase, so M divided by a bigger value, then the product of this ratio will become smaller. So the graph will move downwards. Okay, so the point will move downward. So you have, so the graph will shift downward here. So the movement upward is when the price of Y decrease. The movement downwards is when the price of good Y increase. Okay, and the price of good X remain unchanged. Okay, so it's the same thing what you saw in the price of if price of X changes, Y remain the same, or the price of X remain the same, the price of Y that changes. Okay, And thirdly is when the income changes. Okay, income of income of this person changes. Okay, so this is more straightforward. Shift to the right means your income increase. Okay, but shift to the left is when your income drops. Okay, so this is also, you can visualize this mathematically. Okay, because the intersection point is calculated as M over Px, M over Py. So when M increase, the price of good X and good Y remain unchanged. So because the numerator has increased, M over Px, if M increase, so both intersection point will shift parallel, okay, or secara selari. Okay, so the movement is always parallel. Okay, meaning the distance in the changes is the same for both X and Y. Okay, so if you have something like this, it only happens when the income changes. Okay, but the price of X and Y remain the same. Okay, and the shift upwards is when income increase. The shift to the left is when the income decrease, provided that Px and Py remain the same. Okay, so that is another scenario how your budget line can shift. Okay, so now we have seen three situations. Px changes, Py remain the same, and then Py changes, Px remain the same, and then here Px, Py remain the same, but income changes. Okay, so that is what you saw just now lah. Okay, and finally we want to look at consumer equilibrium. Okay, so if you recall just now previously when we talked about the equilibrium formula, okay, using this this formula, okay, mux over muy equals to px over py, or you can also write this equation as mu x over px, okay, equals to muy, okay, over py. Okay, both are the same thing because mux per px equals to px per py. You can cross multiply and you get mux over px equals to muy over py. Both are the same equation. So this formula or this equation here is what we call the equilibrium condition. Okay, the ratio of utility x mux over px equals to the ratio of muy over py. Okay, is when, so if this situation is fulfilled, or when both are equal, okay, the ratio of this is equal to the ratio of this, that means the consumer has achieved equilibrium. Okay, so when we go to this slide here just now, okay, consumer equilibrium. So when we look at the formula just now, mux per px equals to muy per py. Okay, so and you combine with what you learned just now on the budget line just now. Okay, so the consumer is at equilibrium when does the consumer is at equilibrium? Okay, the consumer is at equilibrium is when the ratio of mux per px equals to muy per py, correct? So that is what we mentioned just now. Okay, so if you look at this, so when you combine what you learned from the indifference curve plus the concept of budget line just now, okay, so if you recall what we mentioned previously, correct, in last Monday lecture, when you look at this table here, okay, so what this table suggests is that the consumer achieve equilibrium at two combination when your ratio is equals to 3 and when the ratio is equals at 2. When the ratio is equal at 3, the consumer will consume 3x and 4y. And also another combination is when the consumer consume 5x and also 5y when the ratio is equal to 2. Okay, MUX PX MUY PY equals to 2, or when the ratio is equal to 3. So meaning this is what we call the equilibrium point. Okay, the point that maximizes the utility for any consumer. So, but here at this, when you look at this table here, you don't take into account the income level yet. Okay, you only use the ratio of the utility MUX and also the ratio of MUY. Okay, but we don't really, but we don't look at how much income that the person has. Okay, so that's why when you look at this example just now, okay, combination A gives you 2 to 3 utility, combination B gives you higher utility. Okay, and meaning combination A you consume 3x for Y, combination B you consume 5x by Y. Okay, so 3A 3x for Y and 5x by Y. So that's what this means lah. And combination A gives you 2 to 3, combination B gives you 2 by 2. Okay, but the cost to consume A will cost you 46 ringgit. Okay, the cost to consume B you need to pay 60 ringgit. Meaning different combination will give you different cost, or you need to pay more lah for combination B. Okay, so of course, how much a person can buy, okay, whether the consumer wants to use combination A or combination B, at the end of the day, depends on how much money you have. Okay, so if you have 60 ringgit, of course, you will go for B because B gives you higher utility. But if you only have 46 ringgit, okay, the consumer need to use or choose combination A. So when you bring this concept here, okay, and you combine them with the concept of indifference curve here. So that's what it means by combination A and combination B. Okay, if you look at this various combination, various indifference curve. Okay, you have the IC1, indifference curve 1, IC2, IC3, and IC4. So as what we discussed just now, higher indifference curve gives you higher utility. Lower indifference curve gives you lower utility. Okay, so if you recall from combination A and combination B from the previous slide just now, okay, 3x for Y or 5x by Y just now from the previous table here. Okay, so you can imagine this different combination of X and Y, okay, whether you consume 3x for Y, 3x for Y, or 5x and 5y. So different combination will give you different utility. Why? Because combination A gives you lower utility, combination B gives you higher utility. So lower utility versus higher utility is what you see here lah. Lower utility here versus higher utility. So you can imagine that the lower utility might be somewhere, let's say if we talk about combination A, for example, it could be A is somewhere here. Combination B, let's say B here. Meaning B is always higher than A because B gives you higher utility versus B lah. Okay, but whether the consumer can choose to buy combination A or combination B or combination E or whatever combination, it depends on how much income that the person has. So when you draw your budget line, okay, when you draw your budget line and the budget line, your budget line is fixed. Okay, it depends on how much income you have and also the price of X and Y. Okay? Assuming that your income does not change and the price of X and Y also does not change, because if it changes, you see something like this. Your budget line can shift upward to the right or to the left, or your budget line can shift only on the X axis or shift on the Y axis, depending on the what changes. Okay, but when you draw your budget line, one line here, okay, only one line, we assume that the income remain constant and the PX and PY also remain constant. It doesn't change. So when you have only one budget line, but you have different indifference curve. Indifference curve 1, IC1, IC2, IC3, and IC4, which means IC1 gives you higher utility, okay, and IC4 being the lowest one gives you the lowest utility. But you cannot simply choose IC1 just because it is the highest utility of all. Okay, but it depends on how much income that you have. Okay, of course, as a consumer, you prefer IC1 than IC2, IC3, and IC4. So IC1 is always better because it gives you higher level of utility. But just because it gives you higher utility does not mean that you can always choose IC1. Okay, it just show that as a consumer, if you have that money, of course you want to buy, you want to choose IC1. But let's say this person, when you draw the budget line is what you see here. Okay. So on this budget line, the best combination that the person can buy is when your budget line is tangent. Okay. So I use the word tangent here. Okay. So how do you spell tangent? T-A-N-G-E G-E. Okay. G-E-N-T. Tangent. Okay, the budget line is tangent to the indifference curve. Tangent means it does not cross, it only touches one point of your indifference curve. That is what tangent means. Tangent means the budget line touches, okay, it only touches the point of your indifference curve. Okay, it doesn't cross. Okay, so for example, like this point here. This point means the budget line crosses the indifference curve. This is not tangent. The same thing here. This point is when your budget line cross your indifference curve. But the word tangent refers to this point here. Okay, this point is what tangent means. Okay, is when your budget line only touches the indifference curve. Okay, so that's what tangent means. Your budget line, okay, is merely touching one point of your indifference curve. So that is when budget line is tangent to the indifference curve, that is the best combination that this consumer can buy given the income that the person has. Okay, so given the income that the person has, okay, the best combination that the person can buy is at point E. Okay, of course, point E is located at IC2, and IC2 is lower than IC1. So IC1 will give you higher utility, but because of the income, the limited income that the person has, you cannot go for IC1. Okay, because IC1 requires higher income level. For example, your budget line must be higher than the original one here. Okay, but so because of your income is not okay, you cannot achieve that income level. So whatever money that you have and you brought, according to the income and the price of Y and the price of X, okay, your budget line is only tangent at the indifference curve only at IC2. Okay, so at IC2, your budget line is tangent at point E. So point E, at point E, meaning that the consumer will buy this much of Y and this much of X. Okay, so Y and this combination of Y and X, given your budget line is tangent to the indifference curve, this is the best combination that the person can buy given the income that you have. Okay, and also the current price of Y and the current price of X. Okay, other than that is not you cannot, other than this point, okay, meaning that this is the best one possible. Of course, B and A is still possible, but it's not logical for this consumer to go for A or B because A and B is lower than point E, correct? So as a logical consumer or rational consumer, more is always preferred than less. So more means E is more than B and A. So of course the consumer will not go for A and B. Okay, but point anywhere above E is not achievable. Okay, it's not possible because of your limited income. So given the condition of your budget line is tangent to the indifference curve, okay, at this point here. Okay, so when your budget line is merely touching on one point of your indifference curve, so that is the best combination or the combination of Y and X that the person can buy and should buy, okay, given the money that you have. Okay, So that is the maximizing consumer satisfaction. How to maximize consumer satisfaction based on the slope here. Okay. So okay, I'm not sure if it is part of the syllabus. Okay, but you will learn this. I mean, for economic students, you will learn more. You will learn again on this price consumption curve (PCC). Okay, but I think just to introduce what PCC is, of course, you do not need to draw in your test, because again, your test is multiple choice question. Okay, so just to introduce what PCC is. Okay, PCC is basically between you connect the line or the points between different combination of different optimum combination of your budget line. Okay, if you look at this diagram again, point E is the optimum combination given your budget line. Okay, is given your current income. Okay, or your current budget line here. The best combination is at point E. Okay, and you also know that okay, your income can change. If your income changes, the combination will also change. So what PCC means? Okay, sorry. The combination can change. Okay, due to two reasons, as what we mentioned just now, whether the price changes or your income changes. Correct. If your income changes, your budget line will shift parallel, whether outward or to the right or to the left. Or if only good X changes, the changes only occurs on the X axis. Okay, but if good Y changes, the changes only occurs at the Y axis. X remain the same. So the changes in your budget line can be due to two factors: the changes in price of X, the changes in the price of Y, or the changes in the income. Okay, so what you see here, okay, the price consumption curve, even the word price here, okay, it's not income. Okay, there is another graph, what we call income consumption curve. Okay, but price consumption curve is when you draw a different budget line. Okay, in this case, you can see here that the one that changes is the price of good X, correct? Because the point in Y does not change. The one that changes is only the one on the X axis. Okay, whether the PX the shift to the right is when the PX goes down. Okay, from the previous slide we already discussed. Okay, if the shift is to the left is when PX goes up. Okay, so the income remain the same, PY also remain the same, price of Y remain unchanged, income remain unchanged, but only price of X changes. Okay, so if price of X decrease, the curve will shift to the right, and the price of X increase, the curve will shift to the left. So when you have different budget line, okay, different budget line means you have a different combination of a different indifference curve altogether. So at this budget line, you have one indifference curve, which is tangent to the budget line. Okay, and then this budget line, you have another indifference curve that is also tangent to the budget line. Okay, and also the third budget line, you have another indifference curve that is also tangent to the budget line. So when every time the indifference curve is tangent to the budget line, okay, you connect all of the point here, and you can draw one graph or one line, which what we call as price consumption curve. Okay, so PCC or price consumption curve is a graph that shows different combination, okay, equilibrium points in the event of changes to the price of goods. Okay, so this is the line connect. So in this case, this PCC is the line connecting the equilibrium point when the price of X that change. Okay, PY remain the same. Okay, so this is what price consumption curve is. Okay, so we have finished topic number 5. Okay, so let me recap very quickly in 1 minute. Okay, so what we have learned throughout the whole topic is the concept of total utility. Okay, marginal utility. Okay, how to calculate MU. MU is the change in X, the change in total utility divided by the change in quantity. Okay, so 4 minus 0 divided by 1 minus 0 gives you 4, 7 minus 4 divided by 2 minus 1 gives you 3, and whatnot. So that is MU, and then the plot, the relationship between TU and MU. TU is maximum when MU equals to 0, okay, and MU becomes negative when TU start to decrease. So, and then we also look at the concept of the optimum, the equilibrium is when MUX, PX equals to MUY per PY. Okay, and then you also look at the concept of what is indifference curve. The curve shows different combination, okay, of good X and good Y, okay, that gives you the same level of satisfaction, okay. So different combination of good X and good Y that gives you the same level of utility, or meaning point A, B, C, D all are located at the same indifference curve, meaning different combination of Y and X, but all of these combination will give you the same level of TU. Okay, and the higher is your TU, the higher is your indifference curve, the higher is your total utility. Okay, so that is what the graph means. And then one of the point that you need to know is indifference curve cannot intersect, because it violates the assumption of more is preferred to less, or the consumer are transitive. Okay, this one here. And then we also look at how to construct your budget line, which is developed by the equation M equals to PXX plus PYY, and the intersection point of here is calculated is M over PX, here is M over PY. Okay, here is given here. M over PX gives you the intersection at the x-axis. M over PY gives you the intersection at the y-axis. Okay, and we look at this concept here, the changes in the budget line only occurs at the y-axis if the price of X changes. Here, only the price of Y changes, going up or go down. It goes up when the price of X decrease. It goes down when the price of Y increase. Okay, and here, budget line can shift parallel to the right or to the left. Okay, it goes to the right when your income changes, income increase. It goes to the left when your income decrease. Okay, so you can calculate this from the formula M over PX, M over PY. So if M increase, okay, the price of X and Y remain unchanged. That's why your income, your budget line can shift to the right or to the left. And finally, we look at the concept of equilibrium, is when the budget line is tangent, okay, to the indifference curve. Tangent means the graph only touches, okay, a point, okay, one point in the indifference curve. Okay, it does not mean that it will cross. Okay, so point C is not tangent, because the budget line crosses the indifference curve. So the only point that the budget line is tangent to the indifference curve is only at point E. Okay, so point E is the best combination for this person. Okay, point B and point A you can also choose, but it is not okay, it not rational for any rational consumer. E is better than A and B, because A and B gives you lower utility. Okay, but the consumer cannot go to IC1, okay, because your income is limited at this level. So this indifference curve, although it gives you a higher utility, but it is not achievable. Okay, and then finally you look at how to draw a PCC, is when the price of X changes, will give you a new combination of X and Y, and you connect the points, that will give you the PCC. Okay, the price consumption curve. Okay, so that is what topic 5 is about. Okay, so okay, any questions so far? So it's 9:45 already. So, okay, I'll discuss a few questions from the past year midterm question that we've been using so far. Okay. Okay, so let's discuss a few of them, okay, before we end today's lecture. Okay. Um, okay, so the last class we discussed on this elasticity. Okay, so let's move on to this question number 26. Okay, so this is about topic number 5. Okay, about utility. Okay, so what will be the answer for 26 then? Okay, when an economist talks about utility, she is talking about. Okay, so it should be C. Okay, I saw some of you choose B just now. Okay, B, consumption or utility is always about consumer. Okay, because producer, you don't talk about utility, you talk about profit. Okay, profit and cost. Okay, consumer, we talk about utility. So it should be C. Okay, how about D? D, what does D means? D is not of course, it's the wrong answer, but the sentence is correct. But it's what is it referring to? So what does statement the answer D refers to? Okay, so it refers to opportunity cost. Okay, correct. So so here it should be C. Yeah? Okay. Okay, so let's move on to 27. Okay, the law of diminishing marginal utility. So if you are unsure, you can go back to your notes or to your slides. So what does 27, what is the answer for 27? Okay, it should be A. Okay, the marginality gained by consuming equal successive unit of a good will decline. Okay, so the word diminishing means decreasing. Okay, so when you consume more of one good, okay, your MU or marginality will start to decrease. Okay, so that is what you, when you look at this table here, okay, when you increase more and more, your MU will start to decline. Okay, from 0 you increase to 4, and then after that, when you consume the second unit, it decrease to 3. So this is what we term as the law of diminishing marginal utility. As more and more you consume, okay, the marginal utility will become smaller. Okay, so that is what. So B, the more one consume, the greater. So the word greater means higher lah, which is wrong lah. Okay. Uh, C, the MU gained by consuming equal will increase. Also, the word increase here is wrong. It's supposed to be decreasing. Okay, so D is about you sell product, which is not about consumer. Okay, so again, this is a wrong answer. So the correct one should be A lah. Okay, question number 28. Okay, so the answer should be D. Okay, so this is what I've been telling you guys, the formula MUX over PX. Okay, M equals to MUY per PY ni. Okay, or okay, the marginality per dollar spent or per ringgit spent is equal. So MUX per PX equals to MUY per PY. So that is what statement D means lah. Okay, marginality per ringgit spent on each good consumed. So when you derive the same, meaning is equal. Okay, so MUX per PX equals to MUY per PY. Okay, so it's not about total utility because equilibrium is when MU X, okay, over the price of X is equals to, okay, MUY over PY tu lah. Okay, just like what we discussed just now. Okay, so it should be D. Okay, question 29. Okay, let's be quick now because it's already 9:52. So what is indifference map or indifference curve? Okay, the word map, sometimes people use the word indifference curve. Okay, okay, what the word indifference is basically you have different combination, different indifference curve. So that what indifference map is. Okay, if you look at the slide here just now, okay, so one graph is what we call indifference curve. But when you have different indifference curve, the whole, I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 indifference curve, the whole thing what we call indifference curve, indifference map. Map means different, you have multiple indifference curves. Okay, so that what indifference map is. So basically you are looking at different multiple indifference curve at the same time. So the answer should be D lah. Okay, curve further from the origin yield higher level of utility. So that what this means lah. If you look at this indifference curve, so this one is better than the one below because the further you are to the right or to the from the origin here, the higher is your total utility. Okay, so indifference curve IC1 gives you higher utility than indifference curve 4, meaning origin is 0 lah. So the further you are to the right, okay, the higher is your total utility. So that what this point answer D means. Curve further from origin yield higher level of utility. Okay, so A is money income is constant. So this is about changes in your budget line. Okay, two products under consideration perfectly substitutable for one. This is not about perfect substitute. Okay, although maybe some students who don't understand, they will choose the answer with the highest, with the longer sentence. So that obviously doesn't apply to question 29. Okay, the longer sentence, I mean, in fact, D is the shorter sentence. So do not always use the longer sentence means, okay, YC is wrong. the consumer is better off at some point high on the curve given as opposed to a point lower. So this is wrong because, as I mentioned, when you are at indifference curve, okay, any point, any combination will give you the same amount of utility. Okay, for example, D is lower than A in term of the position on the curve. But point A, point B, point C, point D all gives you the same amount of utility. Okay, it's just different combination. Although D is lower than A in terms of the location. Okay, A is higher, D is lower. Okay, but as long as they are located at the same IC, then that will give you the same amount of utility. So C is wrong because it's not what indifferent curves means lah. Okay, at high point does not mean that you get higher utility or being better off. Okay, it's just to show you that you get different combination of good X and good Y. Okay, last question, question 30. Okay, I see many of you chose C. So, okay, how do you get the intersection point? Okay, I mentioned just now the apa tu? Okay, how do you draw apa tu? Let's say this is your graph here. Okay, so this point is calculated as what? Income M over PY, correct? And this point here is M over PX. Okay, so just let's say take M over PY first, just for good Y. I mean, so you have the two price. You are given the price of X and Y, and also the quantity of Y and X when the graph cuts Y exists and also the X exists. So let's say let's look at okay X first because X is given first. The budget constraint cuts the horizontal. Horizontal means the X exists at 12 units. Also, this value is 12. Okay, this is 12 and cuts the Y, the vertical or the Y axis at 20. So this value is 20. Okay, so 12 and 20. If the price of good X is 20, okay, so this is 12, this is 20, the price of good X is 20, okay. So you know that you want to find what is the income. So income is unknown, PX you know, which is X is 20, okay. So unknown divided by 20, you have equals to 12. So how to get M then? You just cross multiply lah. 20 times 12, you get berapa? 240 lah. So how do you get 480? Okay. PXXI, wait. Um, and what does income I over? Give me a few seconds to check. Okay, so okay, it's already crossed the 10 o'clock, so I think okay. For this question, okay, di apa tu? Uh, okay, you need to use the formula m over py and m over px, not the equation that you see here. The apa tu? This mana tadi tu? Yeah, this one. Okay, so this is this when you I see how you get the 480. Your px times apa tu apa? You multiply by both and then you get the total money. You get the total. You get the m. But this, how to say? This is not the because this is okay. The total money spent. How to say? But the correct way is to use the m over py, m over px, because the m is your income. Okay, how do you get if you were to spend all of your money on y? Okay, meaning or all of your money on x. Okay, so meaning at this point, meaning you consume 0 y and you consume all of x. Here you consume all of y. Sorry, here you consume all of y, all of x, and 0 of y. Here you consume all of y and 0 of x. So m over py, you get the intersection of 20. M over px, you get the intersection of 12. So m over px is equals to 12. So px is equals to 20. So m over 20 equals to 12. So m equals to 12 multiplied by 20. The same thing here. M over py is equals to 20. So m divided by, and the price of y is 12. So 12 multiplied by 20, again you get 240. So the correct answer should be B. Okay, not apa tu? Not C. Okay, because when you multiply the px plus m pxx plus pyy, so that one is the line, is the equation, is not the total money income that you have. Okay, that is the that is the equation line. Okay, but the way for you to calculate the what is your income is simply use the I over px, m over py, or m over px. Okay, so we'll continue next Monday. Okay, so don't forget to take the quiz. Okay, so make sure that you have a good internet connection before